Agency of South Africa. That will be briefed by the Minister of Transport, Dipuo Peters. In the panel, we have the Minister of Transport, accompanied by the Acting Director General, Ntate Mathabata Mukonyama, who is just sitting next to me. And on the far left, we have the Acting Group CEO of Prasa, Ntate Dikaya Zide. The Minister of Transport will take us through the statement. After her presentation, we will allow members of the media to ask clarity-seeking questions based on the statement. As we always do, please, you will have an opportunity to introduce yourself, the media institution that you represent, and pose the questions. Without any further ado, I would like to take this opportunity to call upon the Minister to read the statement for us. Thank you very much. Minister.
Thank you very much, Ishmael. I want to take this opportunity to recognize Mr. Mathabata Mukonyama, who's the Acting Director General of the Department of Transport, as well as the Acting Group CEO of Prasa, Ntate Lindikaya Zide. I also want to recognize here the executive management of Prasa who's present here, as well as officials from the department, members of the different media houses who are here. Ladies and gentlemen, good morning. Let me start by reminding all of you that transport is the heartbeat of economic growth and social development. The Department of Transport is one of the lead departments to ensure that state reform and economic development in order to facilitate radical socio-economic transformation in South Africa. The department is mandated to facilitate and enable reliable, economic, safe, comfortable, and accessible transport infrastructure and services to all. The launch of the Passenger Rail Agency of South Africa in March 2009 brought forth a new era in passenger transport that saw the former South African Rail Commuter Corporation transformed into Prasa. Metro Rail, Shosholoza Mail, Autopax, Prasa Crest, as well as Intersite Property Management Services became part of Prasa. This consolidation of entities followed a decision by the Cabinet of the Republic of South Africa on the 1st of December 2004, which decided that Prasa should offer an integrated passenger service that prioritized customer needs, provide better mobility and accessibility to masses of the South African population in need of safe and affordable transportation. Prasa, as the implementation arm of the National Department of Transport, the sole shareholder, is primarily focused on the mandate contained in the Legal Succession Act of South Africa, South African Transport Services Act of 1989, as amended in November 2008. As a wholly owned government public entity, reporting to the Minister of Transport, Prasa's main responsibility is to deliver rail and related services in South Africa. This mandate is implemented in consultation and under the guidance of the Minister of Transport. Ladies and gentlemen, we are a constitutional state governed by laws, regulations, and policies. Similarly, I exercise the power bestowed on me to pull all stops in bringing stability and good governance at Prasa. Painstakingly, after robust engagements and discussions with the former board of Prasa, we were all united in principle to second Mr. Lutsualo from the Department of Transport to act as the acting group CEO. The process was underpinned by relevant policies and prescripts applicable to process of secondment of an employee of the state. To that end, the individual seconded retains his or her position and relevant benefits in the point of origin. However, Such processes does not deprive the individual seconded of any applicable benefits to the position he or she is acting in. It is unfortunate that my letter of secondment of Mr. Letsoalo, in accordance with Chapter 1 of the Public Service Regulations of 2001, as amended, read in conjunction with Section 15.3 of the Public Service Act of 1994, became the subject of deliberate misinterpretation. As a shareholder, I have the responsibility to ensure that Prasa delivers on its core mandate and that such delivery is underpinned by prudent and good governance principles. The decision to second Mr. Letsoalo was intended to ensure that we attend and correct all other issues that drew negative publicity and brought about a sense of insecurity and low staff morale at Prasa. At the time, I promised that as a shareholder, I will continuously monitor progress and ensure that necessary controls and systems are put in place to promote good governance. Because commuters in our country who heavily rely on public transport deserves nothing but the best. The state of dissonance at the time was preceded by continued events of a governance nature. The first was the 2014-15 report by the AG, which highlighted serious governance breaches, particularly in the supply chain management area, with findings of irregular, fruitless, and wasteful expenditure. The second was the report by the Public Protector into allegations of maladministration at Prasa, titled, and I quote, "Derailed," close quote. These two reports necessitated serious board and management focus in implementing the remedial actions recommended by the Auditor General and the Public Protector. As government, we have committed ourselves to deal decisively with fraud and corruption, and will do everything in our power to root out these acts of dishonesty and criminality wherever they emerge. The issue playing itself in the public discourse, and to which some of us opt to grandstand and play to the gallery, is the matter relating to Werksman investigation. It is deliberately and maliciously misconstrued that we intend sweeping under the carpet some of the poignant alleged corruption identified from this investigation. This is far from the truth, ladies and gentlemen. I wish to once again place on record that we directed the former board to go deeper into the perceived corruption and leave no stone unturned when dealing with this matter, especially in relation to the Auditor General and Public Protector's reports and others which were brought to their attention. In dealing with this matter, it is prudent that a clear scope of work and program is determined, and that financial and fiscal prudence be exercised at all times. It cannot be that public funds are spent willy-nilly without clear terms, conditions, and scope of work. In ensuring that Prasa delivers on its core mandate, and that such delivery is underpinned by good governance principles, I expressed my concern over the long and protracted investigation by Werksman's attorneys. My concern was that the investigation seemed endless and without a clear scope and a specific end objective. This situation resulted in excessive spending, which was reported to be in the region of 80 million rand then, and now sitting at approximately 127 million rand. Ladies and gentlemen, I raised concern on the recent allegations contained in the Sunday Times media report of the 26th of February 2016, which was titled, and I quote, "Mr. Fixit ups his own pay by 350%, close quote. I therefore instructed the then Prasa board to duly investigate the matter and report back to the Minister and the Department of Transport by Friday, the 3rd of March 2017, to ensure that timely and appropriate action is taken. Additionally, I requested the then board to furnish me with reasons for the cause of the public spats that played themselves in the media between the board and Mr. Letsoalo. At the center of this was the salary issue relating to the acting group CEO, arising from a letter of agreement from the board, which letter is a subject of various interpretation. I will refrain from the details of this letter as it is subject of court processes, but must, however, place it on record that once the courts have deliberated and concluded, I'm enjoined to come and clarify you in order to avoid the similar incidences in future. Ladies and gentlemen, it is unfortunate that despite my laudable and persistent plea to both the board and the then acting group CEO not to further exacerbate the instability at Prasa, compromising good governance and further bringing the organization into disrepute, the public space continued unabated, and it seemed to have fallen on deaf ears. This unwarranted behavior from both sides further contributed to the irretrievable breakdown of relationship and trust between the board and the then acting group CEO. It therefore became unavoidable that we recall the acting group CEO for the good of the company. The decision, which should not be misconstrued as an indication of any wrongdoing by Mr. Letsoalo. However, it should be understood as part of a broader intervention to restore stability at Prasa. In as far as the board is concerned, amidst the litany of issues where the board was found wanting relate to, amongst others, the declining performance, lack of good governance, lack of financial prudence, and even deteriorating public confidence due to spades of infighting, I have on numerous occasions directed the board through formal communications to focus on pertinent issues relating to service delivery and the core mandate of the company, to no avail. My requests and the instructions were often not heeded to, and the preoccupation of the board was on side issues. Following careful consideration of representations from both the board and the acting group CEO, and my observation of the deteriorating state of affairs, this together with the continuing public space between the board and the former acting group CEO, Mr. Collins Letsoalo, and in considering prudently what will be in the best interest of Prasa and the public, in accordance with Section 24(1) of the Legal Succession to South African Transport Services Act number 9 of 1989, I resolved to dissolve the board of Prasa with immediate effect. It is my contention that my pronouncement to dissolve the former board of Prasa was a necessary step to bring the matter to closure, but also to ensure that I restore good governance, corporate governance, ensure stability, and ensure that Prasa continue to provide services to the South African public. In terms, the term of office of the removed board was to expire in July 2017, and the advertisement calling for nomination for the new board was published in newspapers and has already closed. I have taken a decision to appoint an interim board that will oversee the affairs of the entity until the appointment of the new board is anticipated. The matter relating to the position of the acting group CEO remains a matter to be dealt with by the board in terms of the shareholder compact. Ladies and gentlemen, I therefore wish to announce my appointment of the following individuals as the interim board members of Prasa with effect from today, 13th of May 2017. Mr. Nazir Ali as the chairperson, Mr. Franz Baleni, Mr. Ronnie Mkwanazi, Mr. Tiani Rikotso, Dr. Natalie Schiepers, Ms. Constance Maleo, who will be representing the National Department of Transport, Mr. Tolile George, who is representing SALGA, as well as a National Treasury representative. I wish to indicate that Mr. Tolile George, who represents SALGA, will retain his position in the board together with a representative from National Treasury, who will be replacing Mr. Macmillan, who resigned from National Treasury. The board members for the interim board were carefully selected on the basis of skills and expertise required to run the Prasa business. These skills include the following: technical, corporate governance, legal, finance, risk management, human resource, and communications. I take this opportunity to congratulate the Prasa Interim Board and wish to recommit my unwavering and undivided support to the board, the management, the staff, as well as the South African public at large. I would like to thank Prasa service providers, business partners, the labor unions, in particular SATAU and UNTU, and all key stakeholders for their patience, continued support, and understanding. The stability and good governance is our collective responsibility, and I urge you to collaborate with us in ensuring that we redeem the company and reinstate the governance that all of us will be proud to be associated with. Prasa is our rail transportation home and will be in the future to the generations to come. And I thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for the statement. Ladies and gentlemen, now this is time for clarity-seeking questions based on the Minister's presentation. As indicated earlier, please give us your name and the media house that you come from and pose your questions. Thank you. I will start here saying with number 1, number 2, 3. I'll take a set of 5 questions. 4, the last one, 5. In that order, please.
Minister, my name is Neo, Mr. President. Your announcement of the interim board came at a backdrop when the previous board is challenging a decision to dissolve it. Is the ministry going to defend its action in court, or what's going to happen after this case?
Yes, Dipuo Peters for the Chinese newspaper. The minister, the chair of the dissolved board, has said on the record that your dissolution of the board was for you to protect Mr. Dipuo and also to stop investigations of corruption in Prasa. What is your response to that, Minister?
Number 3.
Okay.
I just want to find out from you, will Mr. Dipuo be going back to the Department of Transport? And also, I just wanted to also know, Minister, what the board did give you a list of names of, recommended a list of people to be the CEO. I just wanted to know why you did not think of any of the names.
Okay, next. Yes, sir.
Mr. Colin Anthony from the Day. You mentioned investigations that are going into Prasa. One of the main arguments from the board is that various civil matters which they're trying to deal with at you mentioned the investigations, the allegations of the investigation and stuff like your decisions. One of the main arguments from the board of Prasa is that various civil matters that we're pursuing on Kumba matter and others are critically important in terms of the long-term turnaround of Prasa, obviously looking at resources. They maintain that this is going to prejudice those because they need to be a proposal that they mind addressing that.
Okay. Last one here. Must come to you.
Hi, Minister Michael from ENCA. Mr. Dipuo has publicly stated he considers himself a bit of a corruption buster. He's incorruptible. He believes that he was fired because he got too close to corruption within Prasa. Therefore, he was fired by the board. But in the board's papers, Mr. Molepe's papers, he says that they got too close to corruption through Waxman's attorney's investigation. Who are we to believe in this saga? It seems corruption fighter versus corruption fighter, but they've both now been removed. Who are we to believe?
Thank you very much. This brings to an end the first session of questions. I will now hand over to the Minister to respond. Minister?
Let me start. Some of the questions are interlinked, especially the first and I think the second one and the last one. Let me start with the fourth one. The issues related to the previous board having been following or pursuing civil matters. We all know that in an institution like Prasa and government and any organization, there's something called successor in title. We are putting up an interim board, and like I indicated, the genesis or the origins of the investigations is that there was the AG's report of 2014-15. There's still an AG's report from the beginning of the establishment of Prasa. So the information, the historical information is there. The management of Prasa is still in place. The acting group CEO is also the company secretary. So the institutional memory is there. So there is no jeopardizing or prejudice that the investigation will suffer as a result of this intervention. So I want to put it as such. The other matter is the fact, and I would want the two gentlemen with me to respond to those, the fact that there are questions that relate to matters that are now before the courts, and that we will border on dealing with illegal or dealing with information that probably still needs to be used or be tested in a court. But I want to say that when we brought, and Michael's question, when we brought Mr. Litswalo to Prasa, there was an agreement with the board, and the board also felt that it was a good move. And truly speaking, I would want to say, I cannot vouch for the personal matters, but when Mr. Litswalo says that he fights corruption, I've worked with him in the department and dealt with many cases. In fact, for information, in the Department of Transport and the agencies of transport, we're dealing with many matters of this nature. And the issue related to Mr. Molefe being a corruption buster, I would want to say that it is important that we take note that there has been investigations that even predates this former board, that continued under them, that were revealed during the time of the report of the public protector. And I would want to indicate clearly today that after the release of the public protector's report and after the decision I had made to institute a forensic investigation based on the AG's report, there was concurrence and agreement between us and the then board chairperson, as well as the chief procurement officer from Treasury, on a consolidation of these investigations. So truly speaking, as we speak, there is investigations on many matters related to Prasa that are being handled through National Treasury as per the remedial action of the public protector. Anything below, above 10 million was taken through that particular route. So I would believe that there is no jeopardizing of the investigation because the investigations will be ongoing. The one thing that I even raised in the statement is matters related to the investigations that are being handled by Werksman. In the first year, I could accept that it was unforeseen and it was therefore not planned for, not budgeted for. But in the second year, it cannot again be unforeseen and be unbudgeted for. You cannot walk into an irregularity with your open eyes. And that is where the problem is with this particular investigation. And in any case, having been in the public service in government for many years, I know that investigations has got a tendency of opening up loops. And as they open up a new loop, you need to be able to look at the scope and be able to budget and give the terms of reference and go ahead with the investigations. So you cannot allow for the situations where the investigation does run on its own, When you give a mandate to a particular company to do an investigation, you give them the terms of reference, you give them the scope. And that scope also does have an end date or an end objective. And that is the issue that we raised, even in the letter that we wrote to the board about bringing this investigation to a close, which was a call for the board to say, look at managing this investigation in a way that it will not create these irregular expenditures that we are referring to. The dissolution of the board has got nothing to protect Letsoalo or to stop the investigation. And I want to say to all of you that if it was a matter of protecting Letsoalo, I would have said Letsoalo must remain and the board must go. So I'm saying that Letsoalo reverted back to his position in the department because he is a chief financial officer of the Department of Transport. I don't know if there are issues that are left out. So can you reply?
No. There is an issue around why proceed with the interim board when the previous board is challenging in court. Every South African has got the right to go to courts if they feel that the matters that they would want to ventilate requires the courts. So we will not prevent the board, the previous board, from going to court. It's their right, it's the constitutional right. And then, yeah, I think there is nothing true around the issue of the protection of an individual or a stopping of investigations. People come and go, but always there is this issue, and the minister read in the statement, talked about it, successor entitled. So people that are coming in have to proceed from where the other board left off. And that's normally how we operate in government. But I must indicate also there that the other matters, of course, are within the court space. We need to tread carefully not to be entering into that space.
I think the issues of the civil matters before the courts, those are matters of Prasa. They will be proceeded with. I think there are lawyers that have been engaged to handle those matters. And within the institution, there is backup. The legal department is there to assist the lawyers that have been pursuing the civil matters. So those civil matters will be proceeded with.
With regard to the group CEO names that the board has presented, we all know that those names ended up being a matter for public discussion, leaked to the media, and there was a long debate. I met with the chairperson of the board and agreed with him, including, that was just the day before the one started here, where we agreed that the time is not right. We will have to do the process. And I'm happy to indicate that the closing date of the new advert is the 15th, which was in any way done by even the previous board. So that process will unfold. And I just wanted to say that was the reason. It was not to say that I don't agree with the names. It was to say the process has been contaminated and the environment at Prasa needed to have been stabilized before we can bring in somebody from outside.
Thank you very much, Minister. Are there any questions? Can we take another person? The first, the second one, the third one. A new hand, no new hand, okay. Your second pick, and maybe the last. Thank you. In that order, please.
My name is Marata Bani from the SABC. Minister, the chairperson of the board, the former chairperson of the board, said that proper processes and procedures were not followed when the board was dissolved. Is it true that proper processes went on for it when the board was dissolved, and also in the media as well. The board has said that they tried on numerous occasions to have meetings with you to try and discuss some of the issues here at Prasa. What is your comment on that, Minister?
Yes, ma'am.
Good day, Minister and team. My name is Giovanni Majani from ANN7. Question is, Mr. Molefe has moved your decision to court, and he says that your decision being in court will result in further investigations being prejudiced. And the second question is that Molefe says that the ANC seems to be unwilling to root out corruption, and this will paint a bad image for the country. What is your take on this?
Okay. Number 3. Yes, sir.
Good morning, Minister. Barry Bateman, Eyewitness News. My question, I think you partly touched on it, but it refers to a letter, I understand, which was sent to your office as well as some senior officials in the department by counsel or attorneys for Mr. Molefe. And it essentially warns your office that, and related to this press conference today, stating that any announcement of an interim board would essentially be mala fide and amount to what they term a constructive contempt of court, and that if you did make such an announcement that they would alert the court and seek contempt of court and punitive costs against you. Were you aware of this letter from Molefe, and what is your response to it? Why have you gone ahead with this announcement if you were aware of this letter? Thank you.
Yes, sir.
What's he got?
There's a mic coming.
Colleagues again from the business day. Could you just clarify what the status of Mr. Letsoalo would be? Obviously, the Prasa or the former board said he would not be pursuing the matter because he is a department employee. But will you be facing any internal disciplinary process within the department? And then another question was asked, but just to add, what is your sense of the working relationship of Prasa with other government agencies? I've heard that it doesn't quite synchronize with activities with other agencies such as Transnet. Do you mind just commenting on that?
The last one, my file left.
Dipuo within the report that was taken from the previous board with regards to Mr. Rizwale's salary issue, what did the report say about Rizwale's conduct, and did you agree to Rizwale's acting as acting DC?
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you very much. Hey, people are very fast, man. The question related to Metavane. I think that is a matter of the courts. I can't respond to it right now. The same one with regard to the second question, but the issue of the ANC unwilling to fight corruption. I don't believe a shred of what that statement is saying. The ANC is an organization of almost 800,000 members. It has a leadership. It has 9 provincial structures, as well as regional structures, and more than 200 branches throughout the country. So when you speak about the ANC, you need to point to an individual.
I didn't speak about
No, I'm talking to the second question. If there is an indication that a member or a leader of the ANC is unwilling to fight corruption, we need to actually point to that particular individual and not generalize. The ANC has got policies, has got programs, in fighting corruption. Many of the institutions in the present government that was elected in 1994 is as a result of the establishment of these institutions by the ANC. Many of the corrupt activities in many of the institutions are as a result of the ANC government and the ANC itself unveiling those type of activities. So the fight against corruption is not an individual. No individual in the leadership of the ANC or government and its agencies and companies and entities can be a crusader against corruption. This is a joint effort, and we need to actually deal with corruption wherever it rises its head. So I just wanted to put that correct. There is no decision, there is no intention, there is no plan by the African National Congress that deployed me, Elizabeth Dipuo Peters, to this position to say, go and hide under the carpet or go and close this particular investigations or do this. And I want to indicate to you, today as the Department of Transport, we are printing our own driving licenses. We are fighting in the highest court the matter related to e-nators. We are fighting many other fronts where we have picked up corruption. We have dealt with most senior members of the department. So I just want to put that one clear, that there is no intention and no plan by the ANC to hide any corruption. And I want to indicate there's been many stories about this so-called monies that were taken from a company that is doing work for Prasa to the ANC. And I think it is about time that the African National Congress take the people who actually claim that they gave certain individuals money in the name of the ANC. They must take them to the cleaners, because it means people are going around collecting money in the name of the African National Congress. And that money then means belongs to the ANC. And I want to say that all of us have got a responsibility as members of the ANC or not, as members of the South African society, to fight corruption. Corruption denies people services. Corruption makes the provision of services expensive and unaffordable. And I just want to say it is important that we deal with this particular matter. So I say that with regard to who deals or who is a corruption buster or who is the best, no two people can be fighting at any institution. They had the responsibility. If Mr. Molefe says he's a corruption buster, it was correct for him to do it in his capacity as chairman of this board, but also as a responsible citizen of this country. Equally so with Liswalo. As the accounting officer, he had the responsibility to deal with it. So none of them can come and claim that they are better placed or the other one is better than the other one. I believe that it is important. And even beyond these investigations, we need to be able to close the gap. Wherever we see an opportunity, wherever created for corruption to flourish, we need to close that. I've just been talking to the acting group CEO about consequence management. And I think it is important that we understand that that needs to be followed. I don't want to respond to the matter of the axing of Letswalo, because I don't know whether it is also a matter of the courts and whatever. But I want to say to you that Letswalo has reverted back to the department, to the position which he was appointed for, which is the CFO of the Department of Transport. And I will allow the acting DG to speak to the issue of what is the status going forward, including with the internal DCs and all those. He will deal with it. The agencies of government, you know, relationship between agencies are also managed by people. And it is important that we understand that Transnet and Prasa operate in the same space. Prasa is operating on the Transnet network, and therefore there can never be an interpersonal relationship issue. There is a service level agreement, there is an MOU, there is a cooperation agreement that relates to how these services will be provided. So I don't want to say that and allow for a view that there is conflict between Prasa and Transnet. Everybody has got his or her mandate, freight in terms of Transnet and passenger in terms of Prasa. And the interrelationship in terms of the network usage, the managers need to settle that.
There is an issue that the minister, the board wanted to meet the minister, and the minister is not available. We've got 12 entities, agencies. Of the 12, the minister has met the Prasa board more than any other board on the remaining 11. So it is not true, I don't know where it comes from, that the minister did not want to meet Prasa. And because of the nature and the challenges at Prasa, the minister was in constant communication with the Prasa board at all times, and much, much more than any other agency. Letswalo is back in the department as the chief financial officer. Obviously, that does not necessarily close his chapter at Prasa. We will be receiving the report from Prasa and will be processing it in the department going forward. That does not mean that Letswalo did anything wrong. That will be a matter that internal will be looking at. And in the statement, it is very clear in terms of what were the positions and who said what and at what time. So should there be a need for disciplinary actions going forward, that would be for the department to be looking at. We heard, and some of us saw the email from Weber Wenzel about not announcing the board and so on. But I think if the minister was to adhere to each and every request in terms of her running the department, that would be a problem. We don't have a court interdict, we don't have a court order that says we should not proceed. So for the minister, the gap was becoming too long in terms of making sure that we restore governance here at Prasa. Thank you very much.
Thank you, DG.
And the absence of a board in itself would have ended up being an audit query. So it is important that as a shareholder, we make sure that we comply with the laws of this country and make sure that there is stability, and we have done that.
Thank you, Minister. I shall entertain further hands if there are any questions. Okay. This is the last round, ladies and gentlemen, so if ever there are any further clarification questions, make use of the opportunity. Then will be the first one. Yeah. Going.
They must not be too fast, man. They must go slow. Oh, don't speak too fast. We've got to make notes of you.
Number 3. All right. These are the last 3 hands that we are taking. Maybe you'll start with your question. Thanks.
Giovanni Majani from ANN7 again. A National Treasury representative forms part of the interim board. Is there a specific reason for this? Are you also planning to restructure Prasa?
Okay. Number 2. The second one.
Minister, people are already asking about some of the members of the interim board. Nazir Ali from Sanal at the center of the e-tolls debacle. Tiana Rekotso, the former spokesperson of your department, finds himself on the board. Could you just speak a bit about Frank Bellini from NUM? Could you just speak a bit about the appointment of some of these individuals, why they find themselves in the interim board? Thank you.
Okay. Now, we only had 3 hands. He asked the question.
Yeah, but just for point of clarification
All right.
on the previous question.
We'll take your.
All right. Thank you. Minister, just for a point of clarity then on what your acting DG said. So you were aware of the letter from Weber Wenzel, but you disregarded its advice on the basis of your own legal advice. I just want that clarity from you there. That because there's no interdict or there's no court order pending or being issued by the court, it's on that basis that you disregard the advice from that particular attorney. Thank you.
Thank you. This brings to an end the question session.
It's unsolicited advice.
We now will give the minister and the panel to respond. Thank you.
The question from ANN7, in terms of the requirements to constitute the board of Prasa, there's always a representative of National Treasury. And on the last board, the representative of National Treasury had resigned from National Treasury. So it is important that National Treasury nominate somebody for the board. It is a standing legal requirement in terms of the legislative establishment legislation that determines who must be on the board. I'm sure you would be aware that part of the work that has been done since July has been a turnaround strategy that Prasa has been working on, and I would believe that the acting group CEO can speak quickly to that particular matter, because we did engage with the board at the end of June that led to the process that we are dealing with right now. And that would speak to the issues related to the restructuring or plans at Prasa. The issues of the people that are on this board, I did indicate, and where's the person? Oh, okay. I did indicate that we have put these names or these people together on the basis of the expertise and knowledge that they have. And I don't know why it should be an issue. Mr. Ali was the CEO of Sanral, being a executive board member at Sanral for many years, and did a good job for that information to an extent where Sanral is right now. And I would want to say to you that he is on the board because of his technical expertise. And remember, this is an interim board. I did indicate that we are busy with the process of establishing the permanent board. And up until that stage, we are going to operate with this interim board to make it possible. You are raising the issue of, in the statement, I did indicate that some of the people have got communications and expertise, and you would know the issues of managing and marketing and being able to manage the public profile of Prasa is also very important in the interim. The issues related to Mr. Franz Baleni, we're talking about somebody with commercial and risk, as well as wide-ranging expertise related to labor issues. Equally so with regard to Maleo, I did indicate she's representing the Department of Transport, she's in rail services. George is from Salga. Kwanazi is legal expertise. We also have somebody with very good governance, risk and compliance skills, Dr. Natalie Skippers, and the list is endless. So we believe that we've put an interim team that will focus at the task at hand, making sure that whatever is remaining that needs to be done is done, and by the time we get the new board, everything is in place. I don't know when you say that I'm disregarding the advice from Weber Wenzel. They gave an indication on the options that the then board is going to follow. And I just want to say the acting DG responded to this, and advice is advice. You either take it or you don't. So I think it is important that we take it like that. And in any case, in the instance of this legal advice, I would treat it as unsolicited advice.
Thank you very much, Minister. This brings us to the end of our media briefing. The Minister and the panel will be available for one-on-ones. And also there are some refreshment for members of the media as you exit the briefing room. You can have something to drink before you go home. Thank you very much. And just a further indication is that due to other commitments, the Minister will not be used. Who might have a further request. So use the opportunity now to get as much sound bite as possible from the Minister and the panel. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
No,